Good noontide. This video is brought to you by my intense dislike of clothes shopping. When I find an item of clothing that I like, I kind of stick to it until it becomes unavailable because I don't like shopping for anything that's not books or fabric. But recently my jeans have all kind of started to run down, and fortunately my mom very kindly, thank you, gifted me this pair of jeans, and there is so much that I like about it, but there's one thing that I don't like about it, which is it's like, this is a skinny leg. I really prefer flare legs, but unfortunately the place where my mom got them from only had flare legs in regular blue jeans, not black. These are by Everlane, by the way, not sponsored, I just really like them. So what I'm gonna do today is modify these to make them a flare leg. So my first step is I've marked with a pin the point where I'm cutting the leg open, and it's 15 3/4 inches up from the bottom hem. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that up. Once the pants leg is cut to the appropriate position, next thing I'm going to do is prep the gusset. So this is 2 layers of black cotton fabric, just to make it like match the weight of the original fabric a little bit better. And I'm first going to stitch those 2 layers together with just a little bit of thread odds and ends so that it doesn't shift around while I'm stitching the actual gusset in. Of course, now that I get it in the light, I realize how much Angus fur there is on this, even after I lint rolled it, which is awesome. So now I'm just going through and matching up the 1/2 inch seam allowance on the pants to the gusset, pinning that in place. Once everything's pinned, it is time for some tacking. And a visit for Mr. Angus, apparently. Hello, sir. Silly baby. Fortunately, he didn't notice the thread. Well, of course, once the tacking's done, it's time for the actual stitching. In order to make this easier on my eyes, I'm not using black thread, I'm using this purple that I have in my stash, and like, this color is Wizard Robe Purple, and I am just not very likely to use it for that many projects, so it's perfect for something like this, where it won't be visible on anything that's not on the outside. Welcome to day 2. It is very cloudy and dreary outside, so a good day to do a lot of sewing. First order of business is to open up the hem here so that I can get it stitched all the way down. This would be a great job for a seam ripper if you know where yours is. I don't. I'm just gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way with some good snips. Alright, so the next part is a little fiddly. We need to do the top of the seam where this runs into the actual seam of the pants. So I have my fabric prepared here with the gusset just coming right up to the pant seams, and then basically I have it tacked on this side, the side that I'm going to stitch, and then on the other side where the second seam will be, it's just secured with a couple of pins. Basically just have to go right up to the edge here, and this last stitch I'm going to go over a couple of times. It's now time for the second seam, and basically for this one I'm actually going to prep it and sew it from the outside. I know that sounds weird, but like, bear with me here. If I were to, you know, put the seam allowances here together, we'd be missing all of the little thread bits here, and I'm worried about this edge fraying. So I'm just going to go ahead, trim these down, and then flip the whole thing right side out and prep it that way. I wanted to make sure that I show this part because it's very important to the structural integrity of the join here. So if you can see, basically this doesn't come quite up as high as it needs to, but that's okay because what we're going to do is cover up this fraying edge here. So basically I'm going to kind of fold this over and then take like the long edge of the seam allowance here and like squish it down. And essentially I'm making a tiny little corner of fabric that's gonna sit right on top of this here. And when I stitch it down, it will completely cover that little corner. This is the part where I switch over to black thread instead of purple thread, of course. I'm ready to start matching the seam line here up to this, and I'm basically just gonna be kind of shoving them together and doing a modified ladder stitch. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but this is what currently is making sense to my brain about it, so this is what I'm gonna do. Last, finally, task is I just need to go ahead and hem down the edges here. So I first trimmed down the inner seam allowance, and then I'm just gonna fold this outer seam allowance over it and hem it down. Good morning. It's been a minute since I worked on this project. I was afflicted with plague for a week and a half, so I had to put it down and just be in bed for a week. I wasn't really in any state to film, but I'm feeling better now, so I'm gonna finally pick this project back up, and I'm hoping to finish it today. Hemming this side down is gonna be a little bit more complicated because since this is a ladder stitch, the edge right here, the one from the original jeans fabric, that's a raw edge. So instead of just being able to fold this over double and hem it down regularly, I basically am going to have to open felt this. And after that, it's just pin, 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 tack, 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 and stitch, stitch, stitch. So basically for this I just did like a quick double fold of the hem, pinned it down, tacked it down, and then I'm trying to do back stitches in as close to the same size as I can manage for, this is the original hem of the original jeans. I'm just going all the way around this with the stitches of the same size so that it'll produce as cohesive an effect as possible.